Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm writing to experience with the senior monk who said, "We are missing it 1,000 times every moment, searching." And you can see all the thumbnail obviously, searching for the ever-present. I'm assuming you're talking about Atman Brahman, your true self. And I guess I thought about this a little bit. It says, you're not missing it if you're not searching for it. That's one clever thing. But also another thing is, why search for it's kind of like, this is how I think about it now that I thought about it, is that this is something that your true self, you can, I guess you can find, maybe, but how can you find something that's already there? At the same time, how can you, why would you want to find something that you can't change as well? Is there any reason to find your true self when it's one, already there, two, never changing? So that's the thing that I thought about. It's like, we're missing it 1,000 times every moment. And I say not really, because I mean it's already there. I mean, whether you're aware of it or not. And maybe that's the thing, aware of your true self. But at the same time, do you really need to be aware of it? Again, these are, for me, I guess, because the way I think about things is that if it's me already, I don't need to do anything because it is already me. If you know what I mean. There's no point in searching for something that you already have. There's no point in changing something that cannot be changed. You're just fighting against, uh, how do I say? I guess the thing is like trying to move an immovable object, an object that cannot ever move, and you're trying to move it. It's like there's no point in that. You're just wasting time and energy. So you cannot find who you are because you are who you are, in a sense. You cannot change who you are because who you are is never changing. Yes, this is the only permanent thing. While the world changes, your body changes, who you are doesn't change. Your true self, should I say, never changes. Let me put it that way. You have your ego, which is in a sense of, how do I say, the world's you. I don't know how to explain that, but that changes with things you like, things you don't like, what you find funny, your friends, what irritates you, and what makes you happy. Those things changes from time to time. So again, I hopefully understand why I thought about those things and why my answer was that we're not missing it every moment, 1,000 times every moment, because it's always there. It's just that you're not aware of it. That doesn't mean you miss it. Um, Missing it 1,000 times, and why look for something that, again, as well as why look for something when it's already there too? So that's just my thoughts. I don't have to look for something that I already have. No point in changing what I cannot change. So just live life. So obviously, if you come up with a pretty interesting thought, like this is the reason why you should search for yourself. It's like, but the thing is though, I understand Advaita Vedanta is about searching for your true self, but to me, there's no reason to search for that because, and this is also true with Advaita Vedanta, that you are already that. So why search for that when you're already that? At the same time, I think to me the correct question is to understand your true self. That way, this is this is a much bigger thing, but to understand your true self to help you live a happier life. I think to me that's more of the important question. I would love to talk to a Swami, either one, Swami Taramananda, Swami Sarvapriyananda, um, Swami Nuvavananda, um, even Sadhguru. I'd say Acharya Prashant's a little bit different. He's a bit more similar thinking like me in terms of he doesn't talk about anything. He doesn't talk. He doesn't he doesn't seem, at least from the videos I've watched, he doesn't seem to say your true self is this Brahman, like another object. Even though in Advaita Vedanta there's no separation, all is the same, all is one. But and when you hear them speak, it's always like, it seems like there's this Brahman, and then you, and you're trying to discover this thing, trying to discover Brahman. Because again, for those people, I remember in the very beginning, sometimes it takes duality to explain non-duality. So, and that's what a lot of speech are sounding like. But I do understand there's no difference. There's no other, essentially. There is only Brahman. So that's the reason why I want to talk to them about that, because they seem a bit more... It seems like this Brahman's a little bit, how to say, like a god almost. Whereas Acharya seems to be like, it's an individual people that has this true self, like the way I think it is. Again, I have no proof of it. I'm not going to convince you that, oh, we have individual whatever. It's up to you to find your path and your way of what you believe to be true. As long as it's making you happier and a better person, I'm not going to argue with that. There's just no way to prove it, really. So then what's the point? Again, something that if you cannot really discover, what's the point in trying to trying to discover something that can't be discovered? At least, and I know some people say, well, a lot of these enlightened beings have discovered Brahman and all this, Brahman, the true self. And maybe that is true to the case. To me, I'm not worried about it. If that's true, that's true. I can't change it. If it's all individual, it's all individual. I can't change it. The point is that I can't change it either way. So whatever the truth is the truth, and I'm not going to argue with that. It's just, as far as the truth I can find, individual. If that changes over time, then that changes over time. So anyways, let's get to watching the video. I talked too much already.
Good morning, Swami. My name is Nicholas. My question is, can you reflect upon that story you taught when you were a novice with the senior sadhu who has told you that we're missing it 1,000 times each moment? What was his exact paradigm shift, and how has that left a deep impression on your mind?
Yes, what you're referring to, it has left a deep impression on my mind, because I don't have to even, I was just noticing, I didn't have to make an effort to recollect what's he talking about. I know immediately what you're talking about. This happened about nearly 30 years ago, 27, 28 years ago. There was this monk, we have a small ashram near Jairambati. Jairambati is the birthplace of the Holy Mother, and there's a big ashram there. There's a smaller ashram in a village a few kilometers from Jairambati, which is called Koalpara. And this monk was the head of the Koalpara ashram at that time, long ago. It was nearly 27, 28 years ago, and he's not alive anymore. He was a strange one, that monk. I've heard many stories about him, but I met him just the once or twice, that's all. And we, as a group of novices, we were taken our first visit to Jairambati and that village Koalpara and the ashram there where Holy Mother is to go. It's even now it's completely a village. Jairambati is transformed into a bigger and bigger village, almost like a small town now, almost. Whereas Koalpara is still a village, completely a village. There are mud houses and all, huts. And the ashram is also very small. So I remember this monk was sitting there, and we as youngsters who had first time visiting, we were walking around, and I went and sat near him. He was drinking tea from a little clay pot, like the matka you get in India. He was drinking tea and he was talking to us. I still remember one, apart from what you said, one interesting thing was he was drinking this tea, and a little girl from the village was standing there holding on to the wooden beam of the hut, the pillar of the hut, and looking longingly at the cup of tea in his hand. And while the monk was talking to me, even sort of absent-mindedly, he handed over the little cup to the little girl, who happily took it and scampered off. And then this monk turned to me and he said, "You know Vishwarup, that's my pre-monastic name. You know Vishwarup, we are missing it 1,000 times every day, every moment. It's right here. You're missing it 1,000 times every moment. The more I studied Vedanta over the years and decades since, I begin to see what he means. It's blazing forth here all the time. We are surrounded in it. We are immersed in it. But yet we are missing it. Why we are missing it? Perhaps precisely because it's not one thing among many other things. If it was one thing among many other things, one of those 10,000 things which surround us, then we could hunt for it and find it. But it is none of these 10,000 things and all of them also. And I'm sorry to sound very mystical and mystifying. It, in one sense, it is not at all mystical or mystifying. It's the only reality that there ever is or was.
Okay. Yeah, I was understanding what I'm saying, and I guess for me, do I see the world? Essentially, I'm assuming he's the world in a smaller sense that we all, I think, mostly initially understood, but I think he's speaking the bigger as in reality itself. So, meaning more than just the world, obviously, but the senses, the what you feel inside, the out exterior world, the universe itself. So it's just not just the world, but again, this is how I think some people could perceive it, as the world exterior. But I'm assuming the grander scheme is the world exterior, the exterior universe, and also interior, your emotions, your thoughts, and all that. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much into that. I'm not sure. But do I see the world? Because that's what another thing I thought of. I remember when I drive, do I look at the world and wonder? Because they're saying we're missing it 1,000 times every moment. Do we appreciate what we see? Which is, in Advaita Vedanta, Brahman, Atman, pure consciousness itself. I mean, it's an illusion, but can we appreciate the illusion, perhaps? I haven't, maybe, is that what he's talking about? I don't know yet. I'm just trying to guess here. And just interpret what I understood so far. But I do. A lot of times it's, I I live near an ocean, and ocean? Body of water, let's just put it that way. Don't know if I would call it an ocean. And sometimes I get off kind of late at work, and I just want to park and just look at the moon on the water. It looks really nice. And sometimes you see fishing boats out there with their little lights blinking. And then sometimes you see people in the excuse me. Oh, sorry, I think I coughed right. Sometimes you see people kind of looking for, I guess, whatever they can find close to the beach. It's really nice. It's just something that you can just sit there and just enjoy. I wonder if that's what he means.
But like my professor in Buddhism, who teaches Nagarjuna, Professor Garfield, he says fish are the wrong people to ask about water. Fish are the wrong people to ask about water. We are the wrong people to ask about pure consciousness or Brahman, precisely because we are that. I can put it in this way in Vedantic terms, that whatever we experience exists, and that Brahman or the Atman is the very existence of all this, just as water is the very existence of all the waves in the ocean. Gold is the very existence of all the ornaments in the shop. Similarly, the Brahman is the very being, the existence of this entire universe. And you might say, what is that? That's you. The real you. Not the body. And yet, that being, once we find it out, that itself is the body, that itself is the person, that itself is this entire universe. So are you saying, has it become this universe? Then we get into deep areas of causality. It really hasn't become anything else. It just is. And that's why all this appears. So, we are missing it 1,000 times because we encounter it 1,000 times every moment. Because whatever we encounter is it. And yet we are seeing the names and forms and activities, people and places and things, good and bad, thoughts, emotions, ideas. That's all we see. We don't see the background existence. All of this, in all our activities, consciousness shines forth. And when I say consciousness, I use the word a lot, and I've become more and more conscious, if you will, of misleading people. By consciousness, I mean that by which we are able to see, hear, smell, taste, touch right now, by which we are able to think, enjoy, suffer, remember, desire, understand. But also, this is where one has to be careful. What I'm talking about is equally present now and in deep sleep and in anesthesia and in coma. So clearly this consciousness I'm talking about is not the kind of consciousness we talk about in layman's terms or in medical terms. The two are not unrelated. The consciousness that we talk about in layman's terms or in medical terms or in consciousness studies or in neuroscience is related to this pure consciousness which we are talking about in Vedanta, as moonlight is related to sunlight. The two are not unrelated, but the two are not literally the same either. Moonlight can come and go. With the phases of the moon, you will see moonlight coming and going. Sunlight is ever present, doesn't come and go, doesn't go through phases. Also, moonlight is nothing other than sunlight. Similarly, the consciousness which we talk about when we use the word consciousness in day-to-day life, or in medical science, or in neuroscience, or in the philosophy of mind, that consciousness is, it can increase, it can decrease, it can be there, it can be not there. You can talk about unconscious. But here it is one central light which is ever shining. The light of lights, what we call. And in that sense, we are missing it all the time. Why we are missing it is covered over, as it were, by our experiences. The variety of experiences we are having. We are missing it 1,000 times. One reason is, another way of putting it is, because we don't recognize it. Swami Vivekananda said it's exactly like a puzzle. Have we seen those puzzles, like a puzzle picture? It seems like a random mess of dots. But you're told that there is a forest and there is a lion in the forest. You don't see it. Until you look carefully, suddenly the face of a lion appears. The pattern, it's a pattern. Vivekananda says, once you have it, you'll never mistake it again. The next time you see the picture, it just takes the tiniest of effort for everything to fall into place because you have seen the pattern. Enlightenment is like that. Experiencing the world as it is and seeing through, quote unquote, seeing through this appearance. Even seeing through, see, language fails here. Even seeing through is only a way of putting it. It's like you see through a wave to the water. Now, it's not that the water is somewhere deep inside the wave, at the core of the wave, at the heart of the wave. The essence of the wave is water. You have to put aside lots of things and then get to the water. No, the center of the wave is water, but so is the top and the sides and the bottom. In fact, it's nothing but water. But we are missing it because we don't recognize it. Yeah. It's such a strange thing that he said offhand. We're not really talking just to me, but he has said that to me. And then he talked to others also. I've always remembered it. Here's a little story I'll share with you about this monk. I won't name him. At one time, he was very close to Swami Vireshwarananda, the 10th president of our order, Prabhu Maharaj. And this monk, he himself told another monk who told me. Now, Swami Vireshwarananda, he was an extraordinary person. Extraordinary. He was a tiny, tiny man. When he passed away, he weighed barely 50 pounds. But those who have seen him, they say that it's like he seemed to radiate intelligence through every pore of his being. Like the Gita says, Krishna says, Sarva dvareshu prakasham upajayate. The heights of sattva guna reached when, as if through every pore of every door of the body, light shines through. And it was a belief among people around him and many others that he could straight away see into your mind. So this Swami, who told me this, you're missing it 1,000 times, he decided to test it. And he used to attend to Swami Vireshwaranji. So one day he decided it was his turn to be on duty. And Swami Vireshwaranji was sitting on a sofa. He was practically almost blind. Yes, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, sitting on the sofa, people were coming to meet him, and this monk's duty was to stand behind, just to be present in case something was needed. And he decided he would stand there as he did every time, but he would think most awful thoughts, most unmonk-like thoughts. And he started doing that, thinking those thoughts. And Swami Vireshwaranji was sitting there, attending to the people who were coming. As they left, he turned around towards him and he said, "That's enough, stop testing me." It's just a story which came to my mind. Yeah. So what we are looking for is continuously present, all the time. It's all the time present. That's the meaning of the story of the Nrisingha avatar. The little boy Prahlad was very devoted to God, and his father was Hiranyakashipu, this demon, and who didn't believe in God. And finally, and who had got this boon from, he had got this boon that nobody would be able to kill him. He had asked Shiva for this boon, that let me be immortal. And Shiva said, only the gods are immortal, ask for something else. Then this demon, he thought of many conditions. Well, just bless me that I won't be killed in the morning or in the evening or in the night or in the daytime. I won't be killed by gods or by demons or by human beings or by animals. I won't be killed by weapons, and so on and so forth. Now, finally, when the time came to slay the demon, God appears as the avatar. And there's this fierce debate between father and son, by the demon and the little boy, whether God exists or not. And where is this precious God of yours? And the little boy says, everywhere, everywhere, all the time. Why? I don't see it. Is he there in this pillar? There's a big stone pillar in the palace. And the boy said, yes, he's there in the pillar. This is a story every little kid in India knows. And the demon, in fury, he kicks the pillar and shatters it. And from it emerges this terrifying, awesome form of a towering man-lion, Nrisingha, man-lion form. So not an animal, not a human being. And he comes and catches hold of the demon. And he had made the promise that he had this boon, he would not be killed in the day or the evening or in night. And the demon, to his horror, realizes it's twilight. It's neither day nor night. And I wouldn't be killed inside the house and outside the house. It took him on the edge of the house, the doorstep. I wouldn't be killed on the ground or in space or in water. He takes the demon on his lap without any. I won't be killed by any weapons. So the demon is torn apart by the claws of the lion, of the man lion. So and the worlds are terrified by this the wrathful, terrifying form of God. But it's only when the little boy goes close to this terrifying being that the being becomes pacified and loving towards that little child. So that's the story. I still remember, because in our the head monk's room we had this picture. It's a rare picture. Generally Hindus don't keep that picture because it's a wrathful presentation of God. It's a very terrifying, awesome picture of the demon, the little boy, and the man lion, God as the Nrisingha avatar, killing the demon. So present everywhere, but we don't see it. Is present everywhere? Yes. Even in the pillar? Yes. But we don't see it. The enlightened one sees. Does he see him as a man-lion? Unless he is a devotee of the man, God as the man-lion, he will not see as the man-lion. He will see as the presence, as existence awareness. And those who have heard the story, pardon me, but I'm going to repeat the story. It's a very funny story of little kids who perform the play. This is a well-known play, Prahlad Charit. Okay, or it's also known as Hiranyakashipu Badh, the slaying of the demon Hiranyakashipu. So the little kids, and this really happened. The little kids staged the play, and one kid dressed as the demon, and the other kid dressed as Prahlad, the little boy devotee, and they had the debate, where is God? And there were these two pillars made of thermocol in the palace, and behind one of them, the other kid dressed as the man-lion was hiding. And the plan was, the demon king would say, is he there behind this pillar? He would say, yes. And then the demon would go and kick down the pillar, and from behind would emerge the man-lion. And that would be the sort of climax of the whole play. And the demon king said, so where is this God? Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Is he behind this pillar? But he pointed to the wrong pillar. And the little kid improvised. He knew this was going to end badly if he came and knocked down that pillar, because he could see the man-lion was hiding behind that pillar. Is he behind this pillar? And the little boy said, no, behind that pillar. That ruins all theology. All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so, well, not quite exactly what I said a little bit earlier. Obviously, there goes that word again. Good Lord. So, anyways, everything around us is Atman Brahman, and we miss the true, how do I say, the true, not meaning, but I want to say the true self, the reality of the world, I guess, of what the world really is. Consciousness, pure consciousness. But at the same time, I don't know, it goes back to that same question at the very beginning, kind of. If it is what it is, there's nothing you can do to change it. There's no reason, I wouldn't say there's no need to accept it, but that's, to me, is to understand it. Again, my view on not necessarily Advaita Vedanta's difference, my view on the world, or on how I see the world and how I navigate through the world, is a little bit different. At the same time, I do understand what they're trying to say, and it's incorporated in my vision, but just done differently. Kind of like the trying to move an immovable object kind of deal. That's kind of how I see these things in a sense. It's not necessarily that every aspect, I'm sorry being vague here, but it's not like every aspect of Advaita Vedanta is an immovable object. And what I mean by that, I'll try to explain it if I can, because again, this is something I just came up with, is that if it's something that cannot be changed and you're trying to change it, it's like trying to move an immovable object. If this is something that you have and you cannot lose it, it's like trying to move an immovable object. You cannot lose who you are. You are who you are always. The only thing is that the ego is the only thing that can be changed. It's changing all the time. But it's more along the lines of how you handle the ego. Because your true self cannot change. Your true self is always there. You don't need to find it. But I do understand needing to know that. Understand it. For me, when I understand my true self is never changing, then I realize that what I need to work on is what can be changed. So that's how I kind of live through life. Is that, okay, if my true self is Atman Brahman, it's something that cannot be changed, and is already there in me. I don't need to discover it at all because it's there. It's me. What is there to discover about yourself? I know there could be a lot of explanations, but to me, there's not. Why would I need to explain who I am? I am who I am. Now, you could say you don't realize who you am, but to me, there's again, it's I guess it's very, maybe I am simplifying it, but maybe that helps. Again, I don't need to realize who I am because I realize, and if I genuinely believe in this, that I cannot change who I am. And I do agree with that because when you think, if you leave all your thoughts out of your mind, there's nothing there. You're still smart, trust me. No. Like if you leave all your biases, I think that's a pretty good way to explain it. If you leave all your biases and all your thoughts, just for the moment, just leave it completely blank as much as possible. And then you see what's left over, which would be pure consciousness, which is what they've always explained. There is no biases, there is no opinions, there is no facts, there's nothing. As in, there is literally, how to say, I don't know what the best describe it. There's no hate, there's no love, there's just nothing. That's the best way I can put it, because you are just experiencing things without bias, things without opinions, things without thoughts, things without hatred, without love, without just anything. And there's nothing to change about that. There's nothing to. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but I'm trying, just in case someone doesn't quite understand, I'm trying my best. And to me, that's I understand that. So there's no discovery to it at all. Now the only thing for me is, how can I live a better life? And again, we can't escape necessarily the suffering of life. And my only proof of that is, a lot of people consider Swami Vivekananda to be an enlightened being. And I've heard stories of him still being sad and weeping because of people suffering. So clearly the body will always suffer. The ego will suffer. Our true self will never suffer. Our true self has no memory. Our true self has no emotion. Pure, unadulterated consciousness is all it ever is. So, with that in mind, for me again, there's no reason to modify that, no reason to change that. You can't anyway. But your ego, your suffering, your way of life can be changed, because it always, well, not always changing, but it does change. And maybe it's always changing. Geez, you live quite a chaotic life if your life is changing all the time. But generally speaking, it does change, not necessarily rapidly. But things that change, you can change. So again, your ego changes. You can change your ego to be the better part of an ego for yourself, where you don't suffer as much, or at all, hopefully, but where you don't suffer as much when you start to understand your true self and the world itself, the illusion itself, the Maya itself. When you understand Maya itself, you tend not to suffer, because you understand that, at least for me, again, this is all from my perspective, and hopefully it helps someone out there, I don't know, that, we all die. Again, nothing lasts forever. Everything changes. This body will change into the dirt and the soil, the dirt in the ground. The people you know will change from young to teenagers to adults to old people to death, to soil in the ground. When you understand that, then death is not necessarily saddening. You understand that's just part of life, or Maya. So hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say there. Again, this is merely my opinion in life, and it's a little bit different, but it's also similar in a lot of sense. It's the understanding of Advaita Vedanta, but a bit of a different path. So, anyways, that's my reaction. I spoke way a lot on this one. Certainly did. Anyways, that's my reaction to experience with the senior monks who said we're missing it 1,000 times every moment. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, the sign down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.